Wow, welcome to Killers and Crime, another episode with me, Tracy Daly, and
Me, Ellen Daly.
today I want to talk a little bit about parenting, and you can probably pick up my smile. That's just an automatic reaction. The most positive thing in my world has to be family, and trying to keep alive the magic of family in younger years. I remember reading these adventure books when I was small in the choose your own path sense. I remember having these wild imaginary adventures as I got to choose whether I was going to move the snake from the road or avoid the snake or I'd get bitten by the snake or whatever the outcome might be. And it kept the child alive regardless of what I was going through at the time. And we've had situations over and over where the younger two have lost teeth over time. And we've said, the tooth fairy has come and they've given you a couple of magic coins, and we usually put the tooth on the windowsill or in a little box, don't we?
Whispering because she's trying to sleep in bed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We want to be really clear for you guys, but we don't want to
ruin that magic.
Yeah, we don't want to wake her up, and she's currently upstairs because we've given her the same privileges I have, and I had rather, in that she's allowed to read for as long as she likes, and that's paid off. The oldest gets extra pocket money based on questions that she answers from the material she's read, and I don't know about you, but I think that's doing really well, don't you?
Definitely, she can read really, really well. Some words I'm pretty sure she can come out with, and I'm like, oh, let me just check.
Yeah, definitely. She was doing that the other morning. Hey, Dad, I've learnt 6 new words. Can you tell me what estrogen means? I was like, yeah, I'll tell you later, So, yeah, it is working out. But we were both so excited to receive notification that Evil Pudding had put on the Checkmate episode last night.
Definitely, really enjoyed listening to it.
Yeah.
Considering I wasn't in the same room as you.
It was brilliant.
Didn't hear any of it until then.
I'd done all the talking, so I felt really bad. It was literally like they just handed over their show and said, here you go, Tracy.
Really, isn't it?
Me doing all the talking. Yeah, always. I am now going to lose my train of thought. I need a script for everything. You seem to be able to just go straight off the bat. And so we made a boo-boo, or rather, you did.
I take all the blame, yeah.
Alright, I can work with that. So, I got a message when I was at work today saying, we forgot to put money on the side instead of, where the tooth was. So the tooth fairy's not been. And of course, I replied with...
I can't actually remember what you replied with.
I replied with, fuck.
I was too busy figuring out an answer as what to tell her. But lucky enough as I'd have, she'd written out a letter and stuck this tooth to a letter.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe the tooth fairy wasn't strong enough to lift this letter. Maybe he was still awake. So we gave her some good examples of why the tooth fairy couldn't come and take that tooth away last night.
And that's brilliant because I'm pretty quick off the mark, but I wouldn't have thought about that. And the night previous, she was telling us that the children at school had been saying to her, Tooth Fairy's not real and Santa Claus isn't real and it's all to do with your mum and dad. And even my teacher, this very religious RE teacher, has turned around and said, these things aren't real, they're all fantasy. Despite whatever her belief system might be, she's saying these other things are fantasy. And we said, okay, and we're trying to keep the magic alive.
Yeah, they have that freedom to believe in that magic until they choose not to.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
And
that's not going to be via me.
Yeah, we know other kids.
They can have that for as long as they want.
I hope so. But we know other kids can be like, oh, this doesn't exist and that doesn't exist.
Of course
and sometimes that can ruin it. And
it's part of being a parent, though. You have to kind of take that on the chin and go with the flow.
Yeah, and I felt genuinely guilty that I'd really enjoyed this podcast, But I was so tired afterwards. I was like, I've gone to bed, I've gone up, I've
Yeah,
gone to work.
it was quite late after we finished
The
it.
first time in however many years when they actually start losing their teeth, but she's coming up to 9 years old, and I felt guilty. Now,
I know, 9 years old, and she still believes.
yeah, so
That
we're doing
is
something right.
amazing.
Not only does she still believe, which makes us think we're keeping her in this tight little bubble, which is partially true, but also for those who are going to automatically think, oh my God, they still believe at this age. Yeah, she's also top of her class for like everything. So she still believes, but she's also smart enough to be doing the right thing. And I think that's exceptional.
She's happy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. She's happy with the choices that she has the freedom to make.
Yeah.
Rather than being told how to be or how to act.
Yeah, 100%. Which is the second time I've said 100% so
100%.
far. And if you go and listen to the Evil Pudding podcast with the second episode, Checkmate, on their website, on their podcast, available everywhere, you will hear me say, yes, 100%, at least 8,000 times. But thank you, that was a really nice experience and we loved it. Now, the case today, Ellen. When we
It's
talk,
heartbreaking.
yeah, because when we talk about neglect, I think it's fair to say
this is another level.
You and me both go, well, Tracy's story, neglect, and we both go sleeping in the car, neglect, and we both go, you know, what happened with my sister, neglect. This case makes my situation look like I went for a swim in the summer and it was beautiful and somebody handed me a crate of Budweiser. It makes it look like my life was the best thing in the world. And this case, it makes me sick. It really does.
Yeah, as a parent, you wouldn't ever, ever imagine, even for 1 minute, treating your child with the degree of neglect and abuse that this case brings.
Wonder how unattached physically you have to be in the same room as this person. I won't go into it yet, but the same room, and to not care, to not give any degree of a damn about what they are going through and still allow it to occur. And that's obviously the essence of neglect, but it takes a special kind of scum to see that and not do a thing. I couldn't see that and not do a thing if it's not my child. I couldn't see that and not do a thing if it's just somebody I've walked into a property for whatever reason. I've seen this situation ongoing. I'm not leaving until that's taken care of. It's not something you could have just gone, oh, well, you know, never mind. Thoughts?
I think as well with this one, seeing a couple of the pictures, we read all these different things online, we hear about them through other podcasts or television or radio, but actually seeing some of these pictures online made that case more real.
Yeah, the picture speaks 1,000 words, and that's coming from somebody who loves to write.
And we can't show them that.
We can, actually, and we will, because the pictures will be explained from where we are and attached to their source, but they will be on our Instagram. So we have pictures of the parents, we have pictures of, and the case is the Lacey Ellen Fletcher case. And if you're familiar with it, it's not nice. I'm a little concerned because I don't consider myself to be somebody who goes around making jokes about things like this, but at the same time, I'm also aware that people do, and if you've read my story, then that's part and parcel of handling things. And it's not often for me to come across things which are so difficult that you want to take the make a little bit light in it, and it's not the right way of going about it. So heads up.
Isn't it?
People say that, but I don't like that term. What are you defending yourself against? People say to me, "Oh, you know,
Against
I'm
yourself,
sorry."
your own thoughts.
No,
it's not about what other people around you think. It's just what you inside think. You're defending yourself.
The only person you have to live with ultimately is yourself, and people say, "Oh, I'm sorry your father killed your mum. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss." And I understand it and I respect it because I've been the one going, "Oh, I'm sorry you've lost such and such." But let's be honest, neither of us have a clue what that means. Because what are you sorry for? You didn't kill her.
I know. I
It
think
doesn't
that's the
make
thing. It's just
sense.
people being polite and aware of your situation and your surroundings.
Yeah. So a defence mechanism. I
It's hard,
understand what
isn't it?
you're
You
saying.
know, everybody's got their own opinions and everybody has their own beliefs and ways, and everybody should be able to have the freedom to do that.
Yeah. So if you're anything crazy, and it's probably me, and
I'll apologise now.
yeah, the voice of the sensible one will be forever in my debt in some form or other. And let's go with the Lacey Ellen Fletcher case. Okay, Ellen.
So, Lacey was born on the 25th of November 1985 in the town of Slaughter, Louisiana. I believe it's quite a small town. She grew up with her parents, Sheila and Clay Fletcher, and they lived on Tom Drive from at least 1995.
Tom Drive.
Yeah.
I actually have the full address here. She was around 9 when she moved into 2568 Tom Drive, Slaughter, LA 70777. Her parents were church-going members of the community. Mum Sheila was a police court clerk in Baker, Louisiana, and her LinkedIn profile had her most recent work stated as assistant to the city prosecutor in Zachary.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're going to, and we know we're going to talk about neglect, these aren't stupid people.
I wouldn't have thought so to get a
These,
position
yeah.
there. It's a bit, I don't know, different to, UK to America and everywhere else.
But you'd think this is some
We have
sort
to
of
work
associated legal position. You have to be
quite
able to
hard and be,
understand.
pretty clever to get a position of so close with,
Assistant to city prosecutor in
yeah.
Zachary. You're going to be able, you're going to have to know your paperwork at least.
Yeah.
You're going to have to know a bit of the law going on. You are not your general finding it really hard to get a job, jumping from minimum wage here, there, and everywhere,
definitely not.
going from benefit to benefit. You're not having an unstable upbringing. You're not jumping property to property. You're pretty well
known and to do. Was it something to do with the mayor as well? I believe she was sort of in line for at one time, or
in
the running for.
I've got something along those lines somewhere here.
So she was quite well to do in that sense.
And we've got Dad, and that's probably the most. Yes, probably the most, as a guy, inaccurate term I can come up with.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, Dad, way to go, pal. Clay didn't appear to work, but had plenty of money, so these were really well off. We'll find out later. They were definitely financially stable. Didn't appear to work, but was the officer at the non-profit Baton Rouge Civil War Roundtable, whose mission is to educate and foster appreciation for sacrifices made by all during the Civil War.
Just to hit on something there quickly.
Yeah.
He didn't have a job, so in my mind, he was in the position of maybe being at home a little bit more as the family man.
Yeah.
Just to have that in your mind going forward.
So if anybody's going to know what's going on at home, you'd think.
I'd like to think he would.
Yeah, and it's a voluntary position. So you don't have to be saying, oh, I'm doing 6-6 or I'm doing 9-5. You can go, okay, you know what, it's Monday, I'm not coming in today. It's a voluntary position. And it says here, Lacey had a normal childhood at Brownsville Baptist Academy, where she was on the volleyball team. So she's physically fit.
Physically fit. We have seen a picture of her around this age and possibly on that volleyball team, I think it might have been. She looks like your average girl. Young, pretty, active, fine.
A neighbour even commented, Lacey appeared physically normal. She did exercises with little weights. And Robert Blade's son, a neighbour also called Robert, said, Lacey became different. She didn't see things the way other kids did. She was definitely different from other kids her age. I knew not your typical teenager. He also says she was smart as hell, but she liked children's things, not teenager things. Now, very slightly different vein. I knew a girl